Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and in one of my recent videos we took a look at one of the changes coming to professions with War Within. And there are some vendors actually on the beta, on the alpha, that have some stuff for sale that I think tells us more about how professions and profession crafted gear is going to play in War Within, some differences, and some stuff that I think soft confirms things that will stay the same. I'm sure there's more that can be learned if you were actually able to, if you were willing to put in the time to level up a profession and check out the whole, tree that it gave you, which I haven't done here on Alpha, but just from stuff that's available from these vendors, there's quite a bit we can learn. So first of all, there's an item called Spark of Omens, which is omen crafted. It looks like this is very much the same kind of idea as Sparks in Dragonflight, so looks like that side of things will continue. And there are also some embellishments here. So some are not yet implemented or decided exactly what they'll do. So there's Arathor Armor Patch, which does something awesome, but is probably an embellishment. Same with Echoing Impact Seal. Then there's Elemental Focusing Lens, which says your spells and abilities have a chance to deal damage or heal your target. Frequency increased, but potency reduced per unique gem color socketed. So the more different color gems you have, the more often this will proc, but the less it'll do per proc. Probably will be more total throughput as you get more colors of gem, because that seems like something that they are kind of trying to incentivize. And that's because of another thing that you could find here from this person, Blasphemite and Blasphemia. So these are Algarian diamonds. These are like the new one per character gems that you can put on. And they all give you primary stat, right? They all give you a big hit of primary stat. But they also give you... This one gives you plus 20% perceived fame and fortune per unique Algarian gem color socketed. So don't know what that does. But this one, for instance, gives you 1% critical effect per unique Algarian gem color. This one gives you 1% max mana per unique gem color. And this one gives you plus 2% movement speed per unique gem color. So interesting, three different effects there. I suspect that critical effect, this one is like throughput, and these other ones are not, although movement speed is powerful. Movement speed is certainly powerful, right? You can have 4 different color gems, presumably, because I assume these don't count as their own color. So that means 8% movement speed or 4% critical effect or 4% increased maximum mana, which I assume even for healers, they're going to prefer one of these other effects. But that does create another incentive to kind of get different colored gems in there, which is a new kind of thing that they're pushing here, this expansion. We also have the Magnificent Jeweler's Setting. This is an item that you can buy that adds 1 sockets to an amulet or ring. Jewelry can have up to 2 sockets. So instead of your necklace having 3 sockets, it looks like your rings and your necklace, which I believe is what this game counts as jewelry. I've been a little bit brain poisoned by Path of Exile, where belts are jewelry as well. I don't think they are in this game. So yeah, you'll be able to have 2 sockets on all of those pieces. It's unknown how these Magnificent Jewelers settings will work, because of course the tiered medallion settings in Dragonflight functioned off of the quality system, determining which socket they could actually add, right? We'll see how exactly the Magnificent Jeweler settings are earned or crafted. We also have some new enchants available here. You have stats that go on rings, including cursed stats. So you could either get Radiant Verse, right, which is just 35 verse, or you can get Cursed Chant, sapping 1020 mastery while granting 1360 verse. So you can, these are kind of like Reforge enchants, and they all sap a different stat to then give you that stat that you want. So depending on which spec you're playing, like this one that saps your haste and gives you crit, that would be real good for current Brewmaster. I'm not sure if I haven't actually looked at War Within Brewmaster to see if they want haste any more than they currently do, but yeah, I mean, this is a big number. I suspect these numbers are not going to be the ones they actually launch with. At least I think the Radiant ones will probably be a larger number than this, but yeah, powerful effects there. Then we have Authority of weapon enchants. So Authority of Air gives you a shield that procs whenever the enchant procs. Authority of Fiery Resolve says healing allies has a chance to call upon that authority, radiating a wave of soothing fire. Fire known for being extremely soothing, known to be a healing kind of element, of course. That heals yourself and your 4 closest allies for quite a bit as well. So a healer proc that is healing. Usually these are less good than stat ones if those are available. We have Radiant Power. This one, dealing damage, has a chance to smite your target for some damage and temporarily increase your primary stat by a bunch. So that one jumps out to me as possibly the main one that we will be using. Then Authority of the Depths says damaging foes may apply suffocating darkness to them, periodically inflicting some damage. The damage deepens with every invocation, eventually becoming a crushing darkness that instantly inflicts all remaining damage. Cannot be applied to... they'll actually have this text of cannot be applied to items lower than level 180. Interesting effect here as well. Again, this is just a raw damage one. Doesn't come with stats, so this one is the one that maybe this will be better for stuff that doesn't scale particularly well with the big stat proc stuff, maybe like Outlaw Rogue or whatever that isn't looking for a big primary stat bump that they can line up with their stuff. Or, I mean, I don't know. Historically, the stat ones are usually just better for high-end content, but we'll see how these end up being balanced. Sometimes that's not true. Authority of Storms is your abilities have a chance to imbue you, causing further abilities to sometimes unleash lightning, which deals nature damage split among all enemies hit. So this one just gives you a proc on yourself, where then all your abilities do some splash damage for a while. Cool. And not even a splash damage, right? It's like split damage, so it's neutral how many targets you're fighting, how much damage that will do. Then we have Oathsworn Tenacity, which Oathsworn Tenacity is your weapon can sometimes give you Forged Tenacity, which gives you Verse for 12 seconds. Or Stonebound Artistry, which says your weapon can sometimes give you Mastery. And then we have the same with Haste and Crit. My guess is that these are a lower tier of enchant than the Authorities, and the Authorities will be the main ones, right? Like the difference between the Writs and the Devotions in Dragonflight, but we'll see. Then we have some boot enchants here. There is Mounted Speed by 10% that you can get on boots here. Or there is Speed by 250. That will be the better one for everybody except for Rider the Apocalypse DKs in Outdoor World encounters. Then we have Defender's March, which is a stamina buff on boots. I will say the speed tends to be preferred over stamina by like the toppest end players. Even in my guild, a lot of people prefer the stamina, like last expansion, but if you looked at like what the Race World First Raiders were using, they were almost exclusively using the speed option on most fights instead, so interesting little difference there between those players and then like the tier below them. Enchant Chest Storm Rider's Agility is Agi and Speed on chest piece, or you can get Intellect and Mana, or you can get Raw Intellect and it's more Intellect, or you can get Strength and Stamina. So, yeah, interesting. I wonder... This one is probably Crystalline Radiance. This stat probably changes with your spec, because right now I'm a spec that uses Int. I suspect that this is just always going to be 150 primary stat, or you can get 111 primary stat and a small little buff, which is probably not worth it. Maybe it's worth it for the speed, but I don't know, primary stat's so good, so I'm not sure. Usually, like this Waking Stats, there were options like this against Waking Stats in Dragonflight, and pretty much everybody just wore Waking Stats. Then we have some tools that you can enchant on your... or some enchants that you can put on your profession tools for deafness, finesse, ingenuity, perception, and resourcefulness. There's bracers, where you can put avoidance, leech, and speed on them. There's cloaks, where you can put avoidance, leech, and speed on them, so that's all just like Dragonflight. And then we have some armor kits as well. You can do primary stat plus armor, or primary stat plus stamina. And we have some spell threads, which are just crafting mats. Okay, so that's what this person sells. This person sells flasks, phials, potions. So here's Flask of Alchemical Chaos, which I guess it looks like they've just gone from phials to flasks. Oh no, there's still some phials over here that are... Oh, but maybe these are... Yeah, I'm not sure. Interesting. So we have some flasks and some phials, I guess, this expansion. The Flask of Alchemical Chaos is a random secondary stat, gets increased by 3,200, and you lose 420 of 2 other secondary stats, and every 30 seconds it flips which ones it's affecting. So obviously you're getting a lot of stat out of this, although for some specs it's going to feel pretty bad when you get your worst stat and lose some of your better stats. There's also Flask of Saving Graces, which says anytime you heal a player that's below 25% health, it grants 15% increased healing done for 10 seconds, so potentially quite a good effect for progression. If healing is about healing people who are low on health rather than avoiding one-shots, which, that depends on other things they might change. There's 2,250 crit, if you want that, or you can get haste, verse, or mastery as well. So those might be better for you than the 3,200 of a stat, especially when you consider that you're gaining 3,200 of a stat, but you're losing 840 of among your other stats, right? So you're actually only netting 2,400-ish, right? 2,360 stat. So compare that to 2,250 of your best stat. Probably, I guess most specs would probably prefer choosing their stat rather than the Alchemical Chaos. Not sure, though. There's this cool effect, the Algarian Flask Cauldron. Place a cauldron that allows party and raid members to take flasks of their choosing from among the recipes known by the specialized alchemists in the warband of the individual who placed the cauldron. What a delightful line here. This means that you can have an alchemist on your account, right, that knows all the flasks. And then if you're playing a different character in raid, either for that tier or because you're in an alt raid or because you're playing a different main than you were at the start of the expansion, or because you just wanted a dedicated alt that was your alchemist and your main isn't those things, then now you can drop this cauldron and still get the benefits of all the alchemy that your warband knows. Very cool. There's also a tempered potion, which says, gain the effects of all inactive tempered flasks, increasing their associated secondary stats by 2,250 for 30 seconds. So this is a potion that says, hey, don't use a tempered flask because you're going to get all the benefits of the inactive ones when you use this. So that's a little bit of a benefit towards using Alchemical Chaos instead. And also you're going to be getting double value off of all of so you'd be getting 4,500 of all secondary stats for 30 seconds when you drink a tempered potion. It's actually, let's see how this works. We're gonna test this right now. I wonder if you'll still double the power of the verse flask if you already have that active. It looks like you're not benefiting. Oh, actually, okay, we can see here verse. Yeah, my verse is just 2,250, right? And all my other stats are being pumped up. What if I click off this flask? I can't even click off this flask. What if I put on a different flask? Got to do this quick before this thing runs out. Oh, now my verse is actually gone. And now this is only giving you crit mastery. Okay, so don't try and game this by changing your flask in the middle of using it. That's good. And once it's done, oh, you still can't click it off. Interesting. Okay, the other option here, this is just a health pot. Cave Delver, or maybe this is a health pot, actually. I wonder if this... Nope, this is on your potion CD, not on your health pot CD. And this is a hybrid healing and mana pot. It gives you a little bit less than the healing pot, but it also gives you 90k mana, which is a little bit over a quarter of a mana bar for me right now at level 71. So interesting option, like hybrid potion on your potion CD. Or there's the new healing potion, which just restores a boatload of health. We have an invis pot that gives between 12 to 18 seconds based on crafting quality of invisibility. Now, interestingly, this has a 10-minute CD on it rather than the 5-minute CD. But it looks like it's not sharing a CD with my combat pot. So if I drink this, now my invis pot is on. It looks like there's a separate invis pot CD than there is a combat pot CD. So this does a couple interesting things. If this makes it to live, it means that you're not going to be able to invis as frequently. But invising no longer has an opportunity cost, right? Like you're not giving up a combat potion. So invising when it is an option has gotten better as a result of this. There's a mana pot here that gives you, it is also on your combat pot CD, and it gives you less than double the mana of the Cave Dweller's Delight. But of course it doesn't heal you. So, that option is there. There's another mana pot here that says your next 6 mana consuming spells or abilities will instead consume your health instead of your mana, 8% of your health instead of using mana for your next 6 casts, lasting up to 25 seconds. Yeah, I'm not sure if this would ever be better than the mana pot because you're also losing a bunch of health. But maybe if you have some, depending on what spec you're playing, like maybe this is really good for a disc that historically has had some very mana intense casts at the end of their ramp, or like the Radiances, that kind of stuff. I don't know. We have another potion here. This one is Potion of Unwavering Focus. Fixate on the target enemy within 40 yards to increase your damage dealt to them by up to 5% based on quality, lasting 20 seconds. Now this lasting only 20 seconds, I think it'd probably be worse than Tempered Potion, even on single target for a 5% damage gain. Although maybe I'm just underestimating how much 4,500 stats are, because, you know, we're obviously, the stat numbers are going up in the new expansion, so I'm still in Dragonflight numbers where that's a lot of stats. Maybe it's just a medium amount of stats. But 5% feels pretty small for this, and it lasts only 66% as long as the Tempered Potion, and of course it has no benefit on extra targets, so as of right now, I think this is probably weaker than the Tempered Potion. There's the Slumbering Soul Serum, which restores mana over time, but you're defenseless until it's broken, so this is the new Sleepy Pot, and it's giving you about 30% more mana than the Algarian, than just the straight-up mana potion. There's the Potion of the Reborn Cheetah, which is a 60% movement speed increase for 20 seconds, but you will become dazed if struck. Now, 60% movement speed isn't an awful lot, and becoming dazed while struck means that this isn't something that you could really use as a tank to gather a pull. But it is a movement speed pot that could be potentially useful for some parts. The combo with a Shroud, for instance, for an Invis instead of... I guess actually you could probably pot this and then pot your Invis pot for some skips as well. So some more options there, because now they're, of course, on separate CDs from each other. Okay, we also have the Draft of Shocking Revelations. This one says, gain increased stealth detection every second the light will attempt to smite a hidden foe within 20 yards, lasting for up to 25 seconds. I don't know how this works in PvP or whatever, but maybe this is a thing for that. Maybe he uses against those pesky rogues in PvP. No idea. There's Frontline Potion, which gives you armor and max health for 6 seconds. Whenever you're struck, you gain an additional stack of the effects, and you can increase the duration by 1 second up to 9 times, which means this will eventually give you 20% increased max health, 24,000 armor, and the total duration will be 15 seconds if you use this like as a tank when you're getting autoed a lot. Potentially a useful defensive potion. Historically, even tanks, we tend to see just pot stats, right? Like when you think about the defensive value you're getting out of 24,000 armor and 20% max HP, and you compare that to 4,500 verse, haste, crit, mastery, that might be more powerful defensively in some cases, but usually the Tempered Potion is enough defensive bang for its buck, and it's also giving you damage. We also have the Algarian Potion Cauldron, the same premise as the Flask Cauldron, but for potions. The Phial of True Sight. So this is a phial again. This is a 30-second one, or 30-minute one instead of the hour one. And it seems like the phials are mostly aimed at professions now, and the combat ones are back to being flasks. So this one is a perception phial that also lets you see camouflaged mining and herbalism nodes. Now, we know a little bit about what these nodes are from this post about herbalism, which says that there are some nodes that are hidden and that you can see once you wear this phial, or once you get deep enough into your herbalism tree, you'll be able to eventually see them naturally as well. So potentially could be pretty cool. While we're on the topic of herbalism, there is a Hallowfall Farm herbing minigame that lets you plant the seeds you find. So you know in Dragonflight how you could find seeds and then plant them in fertile soil you'd find? Gone are those days. And now you find all the dirt in one place, which is a farm in Hallowfall. I think it looks really sweet. Obviously, we haven't tested this zone yet, as they say in this article, but there are things datamined here reminiscent of the Hiller's farm in Half Hill, which I love that farm. I thought that place was cool. I thought that was extremely sweet. So I hope that this is a cool thing for herbalists that they can pick up there. But yeah, that's what that file is for seeing those camouflaged nodes. We also have Focused Inspiration, which drinks to Inspiration Rework Mechanic. So I guess that's going to give you Inspiration, which I guess it's being replaced by Insider. The thing, I don't know. I had a video on Professions like yesterday or whenever this thing comes out that can talk about that rework, but this is going to fit into that rework somehow. This one gives you crafting speed and deftness, and this one gives you finesse during the summer or resourcefulness during the winter. Love it. Love these little bits of flavor. Then we have some food here, which these haven't been implemented yet, but I assume are the... these icons look familiar. Even the name Fiery Fish Sticks seems kind of familiar. But yeah, these will, I guess, be the stat foods. And yeah, not yet implemented on any of these. Looks like Chippy Tea. And yeah, then a bunch of glyphs that this thing sells. Okay, cool. Let's continue looking through some of the other stuff here. This person just sells a bunch of reagents to help you test on PTR. But let's get back to embellishments, because there are still a few of them here. We talked about the gem one, and that was what led me on the detour over to the gem person. There's also the prismatic nullstone, which increases the effectiveness of blasphemite secondary effect by 50%. So remember, the blasphemite secondary effect says, if you have all 4 different gem colors, I'm giving you either 4% critical effect, 8% movement speed, or 4% mana. So one of your embellishments here then can effectively be worth 2% critical effect, or 4% movement speed if you want to use it on the nullstone. There's also Captured Starlight, which overcharges your gems for 15 seconds, absorbing 50% of your max health, and granting 17 to your secondary stats based on your socketed gems. When the effect expires, the affected stats are reduced for the remainder of combat. Interesting embellishment. We've seen a little bit like this in Dragonflight. Man, it's harsh that you're, for the remainder of combat, you're weakened. I guess this could be something you press at the end of a fight or something. There could be some fights like that, but this seems to me like a very niche embellishment. I guess you could use it in M+, maybe, depending on what the CD it puts on the piece, but yeah. Then we have a Blessed Weapon Grip. This says damaging the target has a chance to bless your weapon, increasing your highest secondary stat, which slowly fades over time. This seems like a quite good embellishment, but it only goes on weapons and offhands. So this would require you to have one of those be a crafted piece, which may be something you're not super interested in, because maybe they'll still be a little bit lower eye level than what you can get out of, say, a Myth Track upgraded piece, in which case, usually those weapon slots are ones where you don't want to give up a couple eye levels. There's also the Armor Banding, which says, Embrace the Darkness. Double the effects of your other Nerubian embellished item, positive and negative. So this is very reminiscent of Toxic Patch, right? This is the new Toxic Patch. And the question is just what the other toxic embellishments are. Which I don't... These might be... Maybe is these... I guess none of these are Nerubian themed, so... Yeah, maybe those are just not yet implemented, or maybe I missed them somewhere. But there are going to be Nerubian embellishments, and there is another Toxic Armor patch that enhances them in some way. We have Dawn Thread Lining, which says your spells sometimes cause a ripple in time. Don't know what that does. We also have Dusk Thread Lining, which is basically Blue Silken Lining 2.0. There's Improve Your Bandages and also Reduce Fall Speed. These are two, not embellishments, because they don't actually count against your embellishments, but they could go in your embellishment slots. People pretty rarely use them last expansion, and these are literally the Dragon Isles versions as well, but maybe they're going to be upgraded into War Within versions as well. We have our missives, of course, the same ones as Dragonflight, and we have crests, nascent crests. So these are created the same way as they were in the end of Dragonflight, where you use a bunch of crests, you buy the nascent crest, and then you go and work order it to become an enchanted crest. So it looks like that part of the ecosystem is staying. We also have the Crystal Forged Cauldron here, which it looks like maybe a new rot-resistant cauldron, although it's a crafting reagent. So, yeah, unclear what this thing is doing, but it's sitting there at a pretty high cost. So maybe an expensive craft involves it. Or maybe you buy it once and it lets you use something. That was how the rot-resistant cauldron worked, right? You bought it once and then you could do some crafts without having to go back to Brackenhide. Yeah, other than that, these appear to all be... similar stuff. Some of these crafting reagents are new, but yeah, that's what this person has. Here's Firelord Nomi II, who is the Alpha Dragonflight Master Chef and Lord of Flame. Very good title. Just sells some food and teaches cooking and fishing. We have a master botanist over here who just sells a bunch of herbs and things. We have a work order person here, so you can see all the stuff that you could work order actually, which I wonder if any of these are the new. Let's just take a look at weapons. Oh, these go up to 525 now. Wait, 525 is the number. That's just the number in Dragonflight though. That's a Dragonflight Season 4 number, I think. So I don't think any of these are the new crafts yet for War Within. Yeah, I don't think so. Just want to scroll through and make sure. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, then we have somebody selling a bunch of gems and stuff, and somebody selling a bunch of leather and stuff, and that is that's the end of our little survey here of profession stuff. So, hope you found this video interesting. I like making these kind of videos about stuff from alpha, and I think it's cool. I would say decent chance that any of these particular things don't actually make it to live, or do get changed. But as of right now, I would say it looks like they're planning a new incentive around wearing all 4 different colors of gems. It looks like they're planning on keeping embellishments and keeping them unique equipped to embellishments, keeping sparks, keeping enchanted aspects crests, and changing around a little bit about how embellishments work, but keeping the rough idea the same. So we'll see how those plans evolve over the course of alpha. In particular, I'll be looking to see what those Nerubian embellishments are. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.